I'm in the beautiful city of Medellin in Commune 13. Now it's a very touristy area. It's literally packed with people. But 20 years ago, really bloody things were happening here. On this beautiful wall, there are bullet marks. These are real bullet marks, and there are a lot of them here. Back then, more than 100 people were killed in this area in a single day, and they are still digging up the bodies of people who were killed back then. For a long time, the area was not controlled by the authorities. It was controlled by cartels and other criminals. But now we can say that it's increasingly controlled by tourists, in a way, more and more. Medellin is undoubtedly one of the largest and most famous cities in Colombia. Pablo Escobar used to build his empire here and people died every day. Now modern and progressive Colombians live here. The streets are filled with crowds of beautiful girls, young people partying non-stop, and foreigners are shocked by the low prices for all kinds of pleasures, both legal and not so much.
They can invite you to a party from Thursday all the way until the following Wednesday. In every city you go to, they will have streets with girls. Pleasures in Colombia are often intertwined with danger. People are getting killed here too. On the third day I was in Colombia, a guy tried to rob me. A robbery is happening somewhere. A murder might be occurring somewhere. Clean, well-dressed, and you're in some special area. The likelihood of running into trouble is high.
To change for the better, the city of Medellin went through bloody confrontations between the authorities and drug lords. So helicopters basically arrive like this at 5 in the morning and just hover above. So what comes from there? The National Guard. The police. Everything, it turns out, battalion tanks. Nevertheless, Escobar's relatives continue to live here, and I even met his niece.
You're a number, a product, a weapon, a relative, Escobar's goods.
Despite the threats that Colombian everyday life increasingly poses, more and more prosperous families from Europe are moving here.
There are all kinds of illegal substances here. They're found in schools and even more so in private schools.
Colombia is our country, Medellin is home.
This will be an episode about the most party city in Colombia, Crazy Medellin. So subscribe to YouTube and Instagram, let's read some rap for good luck, and let's go.
La verdad que no soy un purgatorio, la verdad que soy un muchacho terrenal, pero soy un hijo Cristo en el cielo y en la tierra, como que fin de la guerra, bendiciones que se acaben todas las guerras.
On domestic flights in Colombia, everything is so relaxed that at the security check, they didn't even take away my bottle of water, which was just sticking out of my backpack pocket. It's only a half-hour flight. By car, it would take half a day because of all the steep mountains along the way. The bus from the airport already has those Colombian quirks. It says 14,000 pesos for the ride, but in reality they charge 20,000. But the price includes an attraction, a tunnel that's about 7 kilometers long, and at the exit, you're greeted by soldiers with entertainers. I didn't notice if they had anything white on their noses, but it was a really strange show. Next, there's just an amazing view of Medellin. Just what we saw in the series about Pablo.
Soy el fuego que arde tu piel, soy el agua que mata tu sed. El castillo, la torre, yo soy la espada que guarda el caudal, tú el aire que respiro yo, la luz.
The mountains have created a really nice climate in Medellin. Look, it's only 24 degrees here, while it's almost 40 on the coast. At the terminal, they're selling coffee and cigarettes, just like we did in the early 2000s, while the taxi drivers lazily move their cars without even starting the engines. But it's not so calm everywhere. I drove just a few kilometers and ended up in a very noisy area. All around, there are young people and crowds of energetic folks. Eta Akmal. He has been living in Colombia for a year and knows almost everything here. He is originally from Uzbekistan, which really confuses Colombians.
Recently I was in Futuma, right where the jungles are. And here most people aren't very good with geography. So one barber asked me, where are you from anyway? From Russia. Ethnically, where are you from? Well, from Uzbekistan. He says, I know where that is. I almost fell off my chair there. I'm like, no way, you seriously know where that is? He goes, yeah, that's in the Asian part. And I say, yes, that's right. This is knowledge, I think. And he goes, so over there is Bangladesh, and then there's Sri Lanka.
Таиланд? То есть у него Бангладеш со Шри-Ланкой, во-первых, рядом. Да-да-да. Я такой, да, мы там рядом.
Like many, Akmal indeed unexpectedly ended up in Colombia by accident, but fell in love with the country and stayed.
I was just traveling around Latin America. First, I was in Peru for quite a while, then in Costa Rica, and then in Mexico, visiting several cities. And I decided to make my way to Colombia. I was in Bogota and stopped by a barber. The barber asks me, where are you heading next? I say, probably to Cartagena, or maybe to Santa Marta. He says, you need to go to Medellin. He says, you need to go to Medellin? I ask, why Medellin? He says, well, it's a really cool city, very trendy, the most beautiful one here, in fact, in Colombia. I tell him, no, I don't know anything about Medellin. He says, at least go for a couple of days. So I finally arrived.
At that moment, Akmal also found himself out of money.
I got a call from my company in Moscow, and they said, well, dude, with everything that's been happening, we unfortunately can't continue working together, unexpectedly. I thought, wow, I stayed in Medellin, a city I don't know, without a job, without anything.
Since then, Akmal has been working remotely as a language coach and helping people quickly learn foreign languages in a variety of ways. He himself speaks 6 languages fluently and loves beautiful Colombian women with whom he practices his Spanish.
How long have you been living here?
I live in the northern part of the city. A vibrant area bustling with life. The streets are lined with a mix of modern buildings and historical landmarks, creating a unique
А в
atmosphere.
России ей нравятся вообще иностранцы, типа, она бы, типа, могла встречаться с иностранцем?
This feeling arises from the many stories I've heard about the city. These tales, shared by both locals and visitors, depict a city of...
It's totally fine here if you planned a date and the girl didn't show up. If you got a phone number and you're waiting for a response, it doesn't really mean anything because they can take their time getting back to you, sometimes even a week later. It's totally normal here if, for example, you planned a date and the girl didn't show up. The girl just didn't come.
Здесь нет такого понимания, как ответственность.
There's a really strange atmosphere of love all around, and everyone is hugging each other. While we're trying to find our way, Akmal manages to wink at a policewoman.
She's a young, vibrant, and energetic girl, full of life and lively. Yeah, here. I had this experience. Basically, I really wanted to meet a girl. She was important, but still very attractive. And I was thinking, man, how am I going to do this? I had a book by Pablo Neruda. I said, I know you're not used to meeting people here, but look, I have this book and I'm going to read you something from it. She didn't arrest me, which is already a good thing. She actually gave me her WhatsApp, but I didn't message her back then because I was heading somewhere else.
You can see more of the cable car. Endless slums seemingly underfoot. Local cops are always vigilantly searching for someone nearby, searching for someone. And on the walls, everything that can possibly be drawn is beautifully painted.
Brazil, Russia, and Poland as well.
In Colombia, slums are called communes. They are mostly located on the slopes of the mountains, just like the one we arrived at. Chickens are roaming around underfoot and the chaotic houses stretch straight up into the sky. This path with steps and winding ascends even higher, even further up. You can't drive there by vehicle. Right here, at this location, they carved out an area in the solid rock to build a brand new shack or perhaps a cozy small living space. Look at how this guy lives. He simply and efficiently built himself a house and a courtyard on the roof of another house. But if we would be ashamed of such a life, here it's the opposite. The poorer people are, the happier they seem to live. These guys might potentially be involved in something illegal and have hidden their faces, but the girls, on the other hand, are quite sociable.
I was just trying to get through to you, you know? Just sitting there on the pigsty, okay? A little bit.
Here we have to push our way through a pack of huge dogs. I pretended that I wasn't scared.
You see, that person over there clearly didn't like it. It is believed that the higher, the more dangerous. The higher you go into the mountains, the more risk you have of getting into some trouble. So, you need to figure out more or less where you're going, at what time of day, and who you'll be interacting with. So, if you're dressed well and you're in a particular location or neighborhood, the chances of encountering trouble are quite high. And everyone really wants to show themselves on camera. We got up and went,
What percentage of people in Medellin live in those areas rather than in high-rises? I believe it's the majority. Most likely, if we're talking about the percentages, I think it's over 50%.
Ну, внешне реально весь город как будто покрыт этими фавелами. Да.
It's a strange thing. In our villages and disadvantaged areas, it's mostly retirees and drunks living there. But in Colombian slums, it's not like that at all. Indeed, there are a lot of young people and very beautiful girls on the streets, especially in particular areas.
That's how pickup happens.
These local teenagers awkwardly approached a girl their age. As foreigners, the girls don't let us pass by.
Я весь день красилась, и тут вот заметили. What are they shouting? We want to show something that is worth showing. If you compare them to other Latin American girls, I know it sounds silly, but in Mexico, yes, in 3 cities, and in Costa Rica and in Peru, the most beautiful girls are definitely here in Colombia. They're here in a rough area, but they understand that they need to be beautiful to get out of here. They look at us like a ticket to a better neighborhood. Yes and no. You see, there is one extreme situation here and another. Here, people either really look at a foreigner to somehow, in fact, find a way out with them in their lives, or on the contrary, they avoid them because in some cases, there are those who openly don't like foreigners. They think that we come here, especially American people, with our money and can buy everything here while not even bothering to learn the language. In general,
It's getting evening and it's time to head to the party district of Medellin. But first, I'm going to visit another traveler. This is how they guard houses here at night in particular, by the way.
it just blasts electricity.
This is Maxim, who is an experienced traveler, and he's currently been in Colombia for 9 months. Well, you have a view right over Pablo Escobar's neighborhood.
Did you do it on purpose? Basically, I've changed a bit here in Medellin, but wherever I've lived, I've always had a great view. Either I'm a romantic and I like everything here, or it's just beautiful. I think it's just beautiful here. I'm telling you with fresh eyes that it's freaking beautiful here. Don't you think so? I just can't look away.
Max is a blogger. He has his own YouTube channel, and when the camera turns on, he knows exactly what to do.
Guys, Cvetai Cvetik actually invited me to show you how everything happens here. Alright, so let me just take the lead here, okay?
Блогерами ужасно вообще, они захватывают сразу канал.
Захватывают эфир, да?
Чё кроссы у тебя так сушились?
I just like to put on my sneakers right here, like this, in a bar style, like an adult. Don't tie it up, just like that. Let's go. It's beautiful, isn't it? You see, guys, as you can clearly and undoubtedly observe how much makeup there is. Indeed, a truly significant amount of it. Gentlemen's set. The apartment is small and cozy, but overall, the fridge is extremely spacious. Just moved in, and I'm absolutely delighted about it.
Сколько квартира стоит?
Штука баксов.
Maxim's introduction to Latin America started with a robbery.
I had my card scanned in Sao Paulo, and I thought I'd withdraw 50 bucks. For a taxi, you know, trying to be smart. I put my card in, withdraw 50 bucks, and hackers are slapping that card in the international airport in Sao Paulo, which is a huge tourist hub. Are you sure? I swear to you, and by the way, it's not just me. You can check the chat later, it all gets verified, everything is found out. Did you see any transactions later? Yes, I saw the transactions after 4 to 5 days. They started writing off money from there. I woke up in the morning, and while I was sleeping, the transaction started. Luckily, not much money was there. They took $247 from me.
Тем не менее, в Медельине у Макса все хорошо.
There are mountains all around, and basically, no matter where you live, if there's a building with 20, 30 floors, if you're on a high floor, you'll have a view everywhere. They refer to their city as chimba. Chimba, по-испански, это владалище.
They are all delighted with their city, and it is considered the coolest city. That is, whoever you ask, we will now be walking, and I think that the phrase that Medellin is a city that is specifically chimba, that is, this will slip out from both girls and taxi drivers, just from everyone.
I've seen graffiti like that, yeah.
Here, that is, this is chimba, guys, this is chimba in front of you. So, everyone is just enjoying this.
Today, where are we going?
Yeah, we're going.
There are skyscrapers. Where the skyscrapers are, it's actually a pretty calm, but a safe area.
Poblado, one of the safest areas.
Poblado is the party district of Medellin, where a lot of foreigners and noisy till morning.
Here we go, guys. Jerez Park, the highest concentration of girls. Welcome, guys. Delicious food, good prices, beautiful people, and a nice culture. So, their language is inviting, Portuguese and Spanish. They really make you feel welcome. Dancing, I mean, it's totally normal for them to approach, chat, touch, and make that connection. But that doesn't mean anything yet. That doesn't mean anything, but it's also not a hindrance to all of this. This is a start, girls. Some are already ready to chat, laughing. Are they smiling at you? Maybe for you. Do you see anything?
Ay, qué lindas, qué rico, mil gracias. Muy bonitas.
Here are the most beautiful, well-dressed people in this city. There are a lot of girls. You can pay attention to the tables. Look at those little Hollywood stars. I was also part of your group. Those are like little models, you know. Hey, are these just girls hanging out or what? Or are they working? Here, work with pleasure can intertwine. Here, one thing doesn't interfere with the other. So you can't say for sure that it's a no, and you can't say for sure that it's a yes. At the same time, there could be a situation where, for example, one of the girls is actually working, but at this specific moment in time, she's just enjoying herself. That's purely my logic.
Если ты хочешь решить вопрос, но залистаешь 2 или 3 конца, как бы, и ты вопрос порешаешь.
In general, yes, a lot of people come to relax who just sits like that. Actually, people need to know how to figure things out.
О, lo siento, mi amor. Mi cielo, mi corazón, mi culpa. Te pedí mis culpas, ¿está bien?
Even eating in Medellin isn't easy. And in half an hour at the cheap cafe, there were enough events for a whole episode. First, a local rapper pulled us up from the table.
Mira cómo baila, mira cómo goza, con los zapatos colores blancos y futuro. Estamos en puro. Dale que futuro me encuentro duro. Oh, man, what is your name? Vlad. Oreo. La verdad que no soy un purgatorio, la verdad que soy un muchacho de la pinta, la niña, la Santa María, las 3 embarcaciones, cantantes hay muchos, cantantes hay varios, yo canto para todo el sistema planetario, la rebeldía te para usted.
Just so you understand, the guy kept reading while we finished eating. Even my grandma didn't keep an eye on me like that to make sure I didn't leave anything on my plate. And this is the real niece of Escobar at our table. At least she proves it with a bunch of her photos with Pablo's brother. Just in case I followed her on my Instagram, you should follow him too.
В инсте я Вова Карманов, и у меня в подписчиках уже есть вот эта колумбийская контрабанда.
¿Tú eres como Don Roberto? Cumplió 76 años. ¿Y de Escobar? Sí, Roberto Escobar.
Родственница Эскобара, полюбуйся.
Да.
Все-таки есть родственники. Короче, самые ребята, крутой бордель, который есть в Медellине. Вот, Сабрина, получается, племянник или кто-то. Она племянница. Она, получается, это тетя тогда какая-то чья-то.
While the girl talks about the production of sneakers with Escobar's logo, Max is thinking about his chances of getting into the family. It doesn't even look like the female attack is going to end today. It turns out we just about met these 2 girls somewhere, half an hour ago.
I look for walk. You remember?
Yeah, of course.
Ultimately, in the end, they took our contacts. As Maxim assures, undoubtedly, many Colombian women are looking for wealthy foreigners here who will share their money with them.
Everyone's eyes are tired, yeah. It's like this here. It's just a way of life. It's not because someone wants to portray someone in a certain light. Some people don't talk and don't show, and some just don't know. And this pharmacy is also filled with everything.
In Colombia, the attitude towards illegal substances is much more relaxed. Something illegal is sold on every corner.
What's going on here? What are they doing here? People just hang out here. On weekends, people smoke. They often gather with their partners or in groups of friends. They usually sit around with beers. Sometimes they smoke. Like, even though there's a police officer here, right here in the park, this is the support, right? This is the police support. People forge everything directly and do other different things. And honestly, it doesn't bother anyone, guys. Well, it's just a different country, a different vibe. There are different rules and different laws. They sell something illegal here, too. What do you think? Well, those kinds of guys sell... Look at them. Why are there so many lollipops for sale?
People use different kinds of illegal stuff and it kind of gives you a taste, it drips down your throat and you have this aftertaste, I guess something bitter or something like that. And they just suck on the lollipops. Plus, the lollipop, you can say that it's tough, but it hurts with you. They'll throw in the ameo.
The abundance of drugs in Colombia causes a lot of problems. Imagine that some substances here are 50 or even 100 times cheaper than in Europe. And a corrupt government just can't fight this plague. In the end, people lose everything, go crazy, and just die on the streets. I'm heading to one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in Medellin. In Colombia, all neighborhoods are divided by status, and this one has the highest, the sixth. Emil and Nastia live in this house. They have their own business in Colombia. At home, kids and a huge dog. On the table, there are all sorts of local treats and exotic stuff.
So what's it called? Granadilla. This is a type of passion fruit. This is a kind of passion fruit opened. So you can open like this. This is a chick embryo. And this goo is the embryo of a large number of trees. Passion fruit. My dear. And so he didn't wait.
You jerk. I live pretty well. Here, we are, you and me. What are you, a killer?
My dear, nice to meet you.
So it's definitely a useful thing. Indeed, they sell it here, like in your case.
Looks like it's gooseberry.
Yeah, there's something...
Yes, gooseberry.
Кто бы мог подумать, на что я потел в Медельине, так это на фисташке.
Emil and Nastia have 3 kids, and they all study in Medellin.
Medellin, given its reputation, you can probably find something on every corner.
Как родителям уследить за детьми, чтобы они это не попробовали, или они могут попробовать, или ваше мнение как родители?
Well, first of all, the absence of forbidden fruit, so this should not happen under any circumstances. We need to talk about this in avoid its upbringing. That is the same as, for example, in Holland when in the 90s or in the 2000s, children, teenagers, or their 10, 12, 13-year-old kids in those years saw what was happening in their coffee shops. They saw all of this. Their parents had to teach them somehow. I have friends who are from Holland. I know how they went through this life experience, and I, in principle, base myself on the fact that this is probably correct.
To protect teenagers from drugs, you need to have constant conversations with them, such as regularly.
There are different kinds of prohibited substances, and we talk about that. I regularly show what happens, what it is, and what comes of it. He knows this very well. It's present in schools, and in private schools, there's even more of it. So it's definitely a significant topic. But we don't impose a ban on a lot of things. Whenever you want, you come. We'll say, okay, yes, you understand. You're already more or less of the right age to try something. You're about 15, 16 years old, and you're ready.
Чтобы это не было так, что потом он уйдет и какого-то там трэша, придет, вернется в непонятное состояние. Нет.
Colombia is moving towards legalization and is trying to officially profit from products made from hemp and coca. What is this? Herbarium?
An exhibition of cannabis products. This is a pain relief ointment that athletes can use when their muscles hurt or something is aching. This too. The main thing is pure cannabis oil. I'm all about the face. Yeah, this is a hair tonic for hair growth. It has all sorts of eucalyptus, herbs, and extracts of coca and cannabis. Yes, there are plantations here that specifically grow marijuana for medical use. They sell it to various cosmetic companies, so it's quite realistic to come here, invest $500,000, buy yourself a plantation, and then sell it. Mom, how do you extract it? Plants.
Вы ездили на плантацию, например?
Да.
This new and unique type of innovative agriculture is significantly bringing to Colombia a lot of money.
It's gaining momentum. Well, of course, it's not coffee yet, but it's gaining momentum because a lot of people have been developing these kinds of products for quite some time. In the American market, don't forget that the most important thing is the consumer. The consumer for this kind of product is in the States. It's close, so transportation costs are low, meaning all the conditions are in place for that. And here the cost of cultivation is much lower. Running an agricultural business in Colombia, there's a key benefit. It's such that here, because of the weather, you don't really need to set up an irrigation system for almost anything. So it all waters itself naturally. Your task, on the contrary, is to ensure a stock of water, considering that land is cheap, labor is cheap, and there's no need for irrigation. Mainly on fruit trees, for example, on avocados too. Can you just imagine how much your production costs really drop when you have such a significantly big consumer market nearby, like the States?
Just like in the CS countries, Colombian gangsters and drug lords, having gotten rich, go into politics and become legitimate businessmen.
It's indeed true that generally speaking, it's typically calmer in Medellin because there aren't typically those cartel disputes that you have in Bogota.
That's how it is in Bogota. They're the guys themselves, who are representatives apparently judging by everything, said calmly at one party. Everything is fine here. We have everything under control. That is the Antiochian mafia itself. They are here. They are building hotels. They have already realized that the money that was once earned in another way is now. Everything needs to be done legally.
As of today, even if some remarkably cool people are involved in such things, they don't even go to all of those places we usually go. So they have their own parallel world. You just don't see it. You don't come into contact with it anywhere.
But most Colombians continue to live in slums. They don't become richer, but at least they die less often on the streets.
¿Por la noche es peligroso o no? Un segundo,
no, por acá la vida es calmada, muy tranquila. No puede salir tranquilamente a las calles y dependiendo si uno no se mete con nadie, nadie se mete con uno.
Как они относятся к Pablo?
Pues ellos tampoco es que me hayan hablado mucho de ellos, pero igualmente como él dijo, aquí todo el mundo lo conoce.
Позитивно или негативно? Более негативный.
Some areas of Medellin were built on blood money. Escobar, and there the residents still respect him.
There were constant wars between them.
Но даже здесь есть мемориал у бывшего здания, получается, которое выкупил Пабло Эскобар, называлось оно Монако. Вот, получается, там 46 тысяч точек. Каждая из этих точек 46 612, да, как пуля, да. Это, получается, каждая точка посвящена какому-то пострадавшему во время войны. 46 612, да, точек.
So in the end, only people suffered. In fact, back then, the cartels didn't care at all, right? I mean, how many people would they kill for just one? That is, now, this has happened, for example, to kill a certain official. They blew up the entire plane. There are even names of the flights. Yes, there was a flight, the Avianca company, when they blew it up entirely. So this whole big war was just for one official. For example, if a competitor from the cartel was going into a bank, they would blow up the entire bank or even a supermarket just for one person.
Mostly, Colombians are ashamed of Escobar, but they can't seem to forget him.
The Americans did everything possible to make him like that. Here's character.
A hero?
Of course, yes. This includes Netflix, as well as some other series, stories, and books. The problem here is caused by the arriving Venezuelans. You can actually understand them on one hand. The country is very poor. Can you imagine that it's #1 in oil reserves, right? But because of the corrupt government and some of their shortcomings, people live very poorly. So stealing, roughly speaking, from you or me, that's like 6 months of work, maybe even more. That's why they went down this path into crime.
When these guys on mopeds fly past the Commune, it's better to hold on to your property. Tighter.
When it comes to crime here, it's precisely this mountainous area. That can pose some problems in the evening because, after all, by the time the police arrive, it's easy for them to run away and hide somewhere.
At the same time, Emil and Nastia have created such conditions for their children that they don't even worry about their safety.
We have an older son, 13. He trains in water polo, takes Uber alone to practice.
Stadium.
We don't even need anything from him, right? We just know Uber, there's an app, I can see who's driving what.
И, как правило, эти водители даже повторяются, они уже нас знают, кого везут. То есть это очень комфортно.
And I'll say something about dangerous areas. Actually, yes, they do exist, and yes, we go there too. The center of Medellin, for example, can be a bit conflictive and somewhat dangerous, quite dangerous even. There are other areas that are very gangster-like. We also go there and drive through. It all depends on how you approach this reality.
Well, no one is going to come up to you with a machete and chop anything off. There's no such thing as a robbery in daylight where a person is walking.
Как правило, это какие-то определенные ситуации.
Maxim ends up in dangerous areas more often, and his reality is often tougher.
On the third day, in Colombia, a guy tried to rob me, and we had others. I was with a girl, Alina, who is Ukrainian, and the guy in the city center of Bogota opened up with a metal spice and said, "I'll stab you now." So he already counted to 2. I have 1 second left. So there was total case where a guy was chasing me. We kind of started a photo shoot and he was like, wait a second. And he went to his taxi, opened the trunk, rummaged through a bag and pulled out something, some kind of thing. I can't say what was there because I just didn't see it. I thought there would be a gun.
Getting to know local girls sometimes unfortunately ends unfortunately badly too, but they often think you're rich even if you might not be.
So many different people come who are not rich, who have no money.
Them.
White, so it must be for sure. In the rankings, yeah, it could be an option, but on the other hand, looking at how people relax and how they spend money on all this luxury and glam, expensive food, expensive clothes, fancy girls with their makeovers, it means they do have money. The problem, like Claflin, is called Cinderella, and there's Cinderella, which, as I understand it, is mixed with different things, you know, cocktails, alcoholic drinks. I was learning Spanish, I had a classmate. He met a girl from Cinderella. She came to him and insisted that they drink a little. She says, let's do it this way. Don't give vodka. So they had a little vodka, and then he kind of came to after about 2 or 2.5 days. So he almost died. She slipped something into his drink. Then I studied. For the second time, I got caught. My classmate from the States. And he says, so I studied for 4 months. He met different foreigners. Just to be clear, there were no more than 4 to 5 foreigners in the group. So you can definitely say that he encountered no more than 20 people, and out of those 23 or 4 got caught up in a scam involving drinking alcohol and losing consciousness, and so on. What's dangerous about it, not everyone can handle it. So these people who set you up,
как бы они тебе кидают там, допустим, пару там пилов, да, смотрят, тебя не берет, а у них, как бы, как я уже объяснял, вот это, знаешь, там, замуж не втерпешь, ну, они нетерпеливые, они раз там, блядь, двойная сверху доза, понял? А они ж не химики, там, не алхимики, не знают темы. Они тебя накидывают, как бы, это раз и просто кряк. Они, то есть, у тебя воруют телефон, и банковскую карту, и деньги. Ну, и там, ну, там, рыжуха, там, цепи, у кого что.
Robbery techniques in Colombia are constantly evolving.
Идешь по улице, тебя, допустим, обгоняют сзади, тебе дышат каким-то порошком в лицо, ты просто его случайно как бы вдохнул просто на расстоянии, просто по улице идя, даже с ветром.
That's it. You become not the owner of your own body, you're not in control. Flower, I'm taking you with me, let's go, let's go. On. Wow. So they rob you and you just stand there smiling at it, watching. How else can you identify the girls who are working, who are on the street so they can stand in one spot and not move for a period of time? There's no guarantee they're not waiting for some friend but there's also no guarantee they're not specifically waiting for some friend. Like with the money, which won't come and say that they accidentally changed it here. Like you're waiting, they might say, well, maybe you too. You can just film straight here because they will be everywhere, standing, sitting and walking.
The police in Maui are clearly aware of everything that's happening, but the officers usually just keep an eye on basic order. Basically, they make sure that people aren't beating each other up in tourist areas. We spoke to these police officers directly about prostitution.
En Colombia es legal si yo busco para una chica con dinero, para pagar dinero.
La prostitución acá no es legal.
No es legal.
No, obviamente es mayor de edad.
Mayor de edad sin problema. Tú no vas a ir a policía como... ¿No? Okay, mil gracias.
I mean, if you're of legal age, nothing will happen to you.
What else did she say?
She said it's actually against the law, but she said like they'll detain you.
Она говорит, нет. А ее? Никого.
А что тогда такое легально? Если
я не знаю.
Нельзя, но занимайтесь, пожалуйста.
То есть тебя как бы упакуют, если ты как бы спишь с несовершеннолетним человеком, как бы за деньги.
You can meet all kinds of Colombian girls here. Some of them look just like kids.
I'm 18 years old, can you believe it?
I have a document.
I have a document, yes. I showed the document.
Among all this, there are a lot of very small children. Mostly these are indigenous people who have nowhere to live. In the area where there are a lot of tourists, they can earn something from dancing and begging. The police keep issuing them fines, but it doesn't work. The indigenous people just have nowhere to go.
We've been recording the interview with Max for almost half an hour, speaking loudly while loud music is blaring nearby.
and a family of indigenous people is sleeping next to us. In full force, but without a father, actually. Nastia and Emil in fact moved here from Barcelona, which is unusual because many Colombians, on the contrary, dream of Europe.
Dimitri writes that no, it is impossible. How could one move to comfortable Europe to unimproved Latin America? It is possible to move, and it was our conscious choice. We understood where we were going and how it would be here, but we were able to build comfortable living conditions for ourselves here.
If you look at it this way, how do we reason about where your home is or how you feel at home? So yes, Colombia is already our country, Medellin is our home.
I thought that after Russia, when I moved to Europe, I really settled in there. Wow, this and that are possible. No boundaries or limitations. And then you realize there is even more to explore.
Nastia and Emil live in one of the most expensive neighborhoods.
How much does housing cost, for example, like in your area?
$1,000, can even be cheaper. Natalia, what you need?
A normal one-bedroom studio will cost $600, $700. Yes.
If you need, for example, housing for a family, like 3 bedrooms, as we have, which is over 100 square meters, then it can cost like ours from $1,000 and up.
The same kind of apartment in Barcelona, how much does it cost?
How much money do you spend on living here per month?
Actually, not that much. I'm renting a small apartment here. But most of my expenses, let's say, go on food. I don't cook anything at home. I have breakfast at a cafe, have lunch at a cafe, and dinner too. I have quite modest needs, so I easily manage to stay within $800, $900 a month. With food, with the apartment?
Well, I guess that means you're not really saving, like...
That's fine. Or why is this happening? I could have rented a separate apartment there, but my current place suits me just fine. I have my own bathroom, yes, and I have great neighbors. I like it. Well, yes, you can find something for $1,000, and I start renting some apartment for $1,000, but I don't really have that need. Prices are going up. This is related to the fact that a lot of Americans come here, right? They earn quite well, and they don't negotiate. So they would be told like $3,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment, and they'd be like, okay, fine. If our person tries to negotiate there, but here, there's none of that. Everything is here. There's even a term for it here called gringo price. So the price is specifically for gringos, right?
Most Colombians can't afford housing in a good building. Like, for example, this guy who is commuting from the favela to work.
What's his salary? I don't know, but I'm coming. And is he thinking about leaving Colombia?
In the future, if he leaves, he's leaving the city. Russia. Oh, you see? Ha 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 ha. I just realized that we are speaking in Russian. Well, yes, like most Latinos, he would like to go to the United States. And you? Emil. He says he would like to go to England because he wants to be a professional football player, and there are good teams.
Nastia and Emil are definitely into tourism, and very often their clients pay to see the slums.
Who can say, I want to try out stage 3, for example, or even 2? It's just a matter of getting into a trusting atmosphere where we can be sure that he will fall asleep, wake up, and be himself again. Nothing will happen to him, they won't rip out his kidney. With the aim of moving to a nice neighborhood. Okay, in this segment, for the different recordings. So, as you can see, we're going to Colombia.
That's crazy. It's worth noting that the children of wealthy parents, they sniff around, run over pedestrians.
The only thing that happens is that they either veer off the roads themselves or get into some ridiculous situations. But it's not like they often run someone over there, no.
He came out with a gun, ran me over, you cut me off.
Yeah, you know what I mean, much less.
No, not at all. They are very cultured, civilized, always smiling, always, yeah. It's not a fact that they'll accept you into their circle, but at the same time, they are very calm. And between them, for example, in nightlife, we come to a cool, expensive restaurant. Here they are relaxing, checking out. One of them drank too much, didn't finish something. He felt unwell. They took care of him, put him to bed. He woke up, called a taxi, sat him down, sent him off.
We haven't seen any drunken brawls yet. Fights, some kind of trouble, some kind of run-in, something like that.
You're walking, you push something in here, they immediately start, do you hear who does what? There's none of that here. You come in, oh, excuse me, no problem, you excuse me.
Все люди говорят громко, и причем они могут музыку вот так. Они, знаете, только наушники, да?
Я замечал уже.
Да, вот в динамике все.
Here, it's the perfect country to train your nervous system.
You know, because in Russia it would be about survival. And yes, over there you can do something, but here it just doesn't tolerate it. It's funny, they're not used to it. For example, at night you turn up the music loud and no one will say anything. They'll just come over and say, "Hey, let's hang out together."
And it's like that all over Latin America. A Colombian can forget a promise immediately after he makes it. And it won't be out of malice.
There were even situations when my friends set the table, waited for guests, but the guests simply didn't come. Here, it's not common to call them up and say, "Hey guys, what's the deal? We were here preparing, chopping salads and everything. We marinated the vegetables for 3 days and you didn't show up."
No, it's just how things are done here.
And then you call the next day saying something like, "And hey guys, how's it going? Maybe you'll come over today." You came to them, then they, "Oh, yes, we had to come." Sure, yeah, we'll come over today. That is, here no one owes anything to anyone.
Colombians don't hold grudges even against those with whom they fought.
I discussed this with a Colombian, and he told me, Colombian's heart, that any other nation will remember the whole history and recall, yes, a pie. Yes, an injection. Colombians don't have that. They're just so kind, almost overly affectionate.
Statistics on how many Russian speakers are here? Meetups of Russian speakers? Very few. We have a chat on Telegram. Yeah, for Russian speakers in general, in Colombia, across different cities. To be honest, I haven't gone out to any parties yet.
The USA holds a special place in the hearts of Colombians. The states are both loved and hated here.
Central Park. It's called Bolivar Park. And there's this guy there who is constantly chanting into the microphone, well, the loudspeaker. He's talking about the political situation there. And as I walk by, he starts shouting into the microphone. Like, we all need to be together with the post-Soviet space, you know, like the Soviet Union, because we're against the Americans. The Americans there have such complexities. And I was so surprised. I think, oh, wow, man. He chants. But they really are here. How do they feel about Americans? Are they trying to oppose them in any way? No, they can't really oppose the Americans, actually, because the Americans have huge authority here, a huge influence. If the youth love the Americans, but the older generation. They still remember screw-ups with the Americans, etc., then not very much. It's not like in Mexico. The most anti-American country, let's say, is Mexico, because it's on the border and has a large number of immigrants. They keep trying to climb over this wall or somehow get through under the cops. So there it was. There, when you say gringo, they immediately respond with gringo, right? There's nothing like that here. But America has had a huge influence, including the English language. There are many interesting words here.
Допустим, подруга там парню или наоборот говорит там бебе, ну как baby, или там ман здесь тоже слово man, да, ман, да, то есть в Испании такого слова нет, допустим, ман там что-нибудь такое. Здесь, допустим, машина это carro, в Испании это coche, а здесь carro, как car.
In general, gringo here is any kind of insult. We are considered gringos as you.
In Mexico, gringo referred to Americans or British.
Just Americans. Gringo is a term for a newcomer.
Spaniards are gringos to them.
Are there Spaniards? Here, yes. Because the Spaniards are also Spanish-speaking. Gringo is more of a term for a tourist, really. Let's say when I start speaking Spanish with them, it's also hard to accuse me of being a gringo, for example. But they still talk.
Gringo.
Initially, we were to say gringo, gal, gringo, such and such. In my case, just gringo from Japan. Maximum simplification.
If you have a Slavic face, then you're still considered an American. If you're from Uzbekistan, you're Japanese.
Despite the abundance of beautiful and sociable people around, Akmalia sometimes feels lonely here.
While you're living here, you really miss it. You don't even realize how much you miss your girls, right? According to our Soviet standards.
I remember walking through the shopping mall and I see a girl who looks very Slavic.
No, tall, that's the most important thing. And I approach and start off from a distance in English.
But you realized she was Slavic.
Well, there was still a risk that she might be German. At the same time, they were very similar. Yeah, I asked her, can I speak Russian? She says, yes. I was like, oh, thank God, let's chat. I remember we talked for a really long time, a lot of time. So, she understood my jokes, you know. All this problem. And all the sarcasm, they don't understand what sarcasm is.
Была женщина беременная. Что-то это был тур. А это да, уже скользкая тема. Да, это было, по-моему, в Мексике. И я женщине говорю, извините, а вы беременна? Или у вас в отеле all inclusive? Она долго думала.
While I was curiously observing the strange shapes of people, Maxim ran into his familiar girls again. He has become so knowledgeable about Colombia that he can instantly tell their types apart. These incredibly beautiful girls with white skin and shiny black hair are paisas.
They let their hair down, and the hair, one ran by like a ray of sunshine, you know. So there's this glare.
But there's another popular type of girl, and that's former guys. Thailand can be considered the global center for transgender individuals, but in Colombia, conditions have also developed where many guys transition. Sometimes it's really hard to tell these girls apart from regular ones.
Girl, I'm Linda. You see, it's shocking. Well, it's clearly visible that this is a guy. His shoulders are wider than mine. You know, it's obvious, but not obvious. It's obvious to us because we've seen a lot. There are a lot of guys, and by the way, a lot of them who will be watching, it's not obvious to them. Oh, what do you mean? How does this end? I just want to point out and warn our guys, and in general, the girls should also be aware. Report. The fact that the person doesn't have clearly visible male traits, or even subtle ones, doesn't guarantee that you're not facing in any way, shape, or form. A man by birth, so a person with long hair, a narrow waist, having a defined butt, such as prominent breasts, and even more so lacking an Adam's apple, with a feminine voice, in a way that is truly remarkable and undeniable, doesn't give you confidence. I emphasize that you are facing a girl. Be smarter, ask for childhood photos, compare one to the other. Look at these photos. This person is 12 years old, this person is 8 years old, this person is 16 years old. Because now people are transitioning,
It is common.
It's widespread.
In Europe, there are some here too. People are coming here from Venezuela, you know, transgender people, whatever you want, transitioning from woman to men. It's all there, but it's not so flashy, you know. We don't really see that, especially, it's kind of not, they don't try to draw your attention to this. How it was in Europe. At one point, jokes aside, we have 3 kids. We are absolutely calm about it. Please, anything you want. But they never impose it on you and bring it to you every morning with tea. Yeah, and that's how it happened. And we felt it. I said, I don't want it, wait. I'm not against it, but don't want it. We moved here, same here. But they don't talk about it daily school. They study Catholic. Everything is structured there.
Maxim has been traveling for over 10 years, and he often notices that foreign women introduce themselves as Russian or Ukrainian.
I've encountered situations in my life often where I saw a group of girls. They all looked the same to each other, but, well, like this. They get asked there abroad, where are you from? She says, Russia. And where are you from? She also says there, another girl says Russia. Moreover, some of them didn't even speak Russian. So I saw this clearly. So I don't know about others, but I can tell apart Russian people from non-Russian ones. Well, conditionally Russian. So what was the purpose of them introducing themselves like that? They introduced themselves like that to avoid, God forbid, revealing their actual country from which, if they cover it up like you're from Russia and everyone believed it. That is when a person, say, did something nasty or did something bad, that is as if he said with Russia, with Russia, well, that's understandable. The image when they said that Russia and Ukraine are full of prostitutes does not correspond to reality. That is, the number of prostitutes that exist in Russia and Ukraine is not worth it compared to the number that exists, for example, in Asian countries or in Latin American countries. I mean, the level of spirituality that exists in our part of the world is just on another level. It's top-notch. I've been to different countries, I swear to you.
From experience, Maxim, Medellin is not the most debauched city in Colombia.
I was in Pereira, I was in Manizales, I was in Cartagena. In Cartagena, the city is really set up for that. It's not just in Colombia. It's the same story in Brazil. So, in every city you go to, they'll have little streets with girls, and everything's fine. At a minimum, they'll talk to you here for $20 American, right at this spot. And actually, above that, that is, let's say a girl from this pharmacy will talk to you for 20 for 30 bucks. So, 30 is definitely a bargain, they'll definitely run for it. If, for example, you're in that bar and you've already gone up to the open air area, they might tell you, say 400 for those cuties. So 80 bucks, 100 bucks.
In one of my latest videos, I talked about the craziness happening in the favelas of Brazil. Look, if you haven't seen that episode yet, so all of this is just the tip of the iceberg compared to what was happening not too long ago here in Medellin.
Here, people are used to living in constant danger. So it turns out this area was controlled by paramilitaries. Paramilitaries are like separatists, rebels, and accordingly they were constantly recruiting people here because people lived in very poor conditions. And to this day, they don't live very richly. Let's say, so they always had nothing to lose. And any person, for example, from Cuba who came here would say, I need 20 young guys to work, and they would immediately agree.
Comuna 13 is one of the many favelas in Medellin. Look at how many there are. The slums are scattered across all the mountains as far as the eye can see. But it was Comuna 13 that experienced real combat. About 20 years ago, the authorities carried out a cleanup of the area, which had until then been an impregnable fortress for drug lords. Many people died back then, and the hummingbird is a symbol of those events.
How did their special military operations start? Did helicopters just fly in and start bombing everyone, or what?
No, it actually went like this. In October 2002, as I mentioned, as part of the Clean Medellin program, it was President Uribe, 2 helicopters just like that around 5 in the morning, flew in and hovered over the area. People are in a panic, unable to understand what's happening. Not only that, but the helicopters also come from there. The National Guard, police, all of them, it turns out, battalion tanks. Cleaning up from below, cleaning up from above. People are in a panic. Women start hanging out. Everything white that they have, such as clothes, sheets, and towels. A blanket, sheets, like, please don't shoot at this house. We are peaceful residents.
This is Anna. She lives in Medellin and does graffiti. During the cleanup, she was actually living in Comuna 13.
Wow, guys, living in the commune with a view like that is absolutely breathtaking. Every single day. Well, I don't know, it's worth a lot.
Сколько, кстати, это стоит? ¿Usted cuánto paga para vivir acá? ¿Cuánto?
700,000.
700 тысяч получается. Это ее собственность, да, семейная.
Anna currently lives with her parents and 2 kids, and her tourism business is doing well. She plans to expand successfully, and her relatives are sorting through some goods in the next room. But before, the commune wasn't such a profitable place.
I've only been friends for 3 days. The day the operation started, they were actually in class. And the shooting started, and they had to hide under their desks to save their lives. She was at school, and then this operation started, which lasted for 3 days, by the way. And all of this was coming from the helicopters. Did you see the helicopter? She mentioned that at that moment she was living in another part of Comuna 13, but nevertheless that part felt everything just the same. There were a lot of people who died here. They were shooting from tanks, shooting from helicopters, and the army was also very actively defending this region, this area. So it was very scary, and all parts of the commune felt it the same way.
Each and every anniversary, Anna goes out into the bustling streets alongside her neighbors, proudly carrying white flags.
90% of the victims were civilians. Do they have any lingering feelings, let's say, from that operation? Is there still hatred towards the authorities? Well, you see, a lot of water has flowed under the bridge, right? Here, let's say the traits of the Latin American mentality are that they don't live in the past. They're more focused on the present, enjoying every moment, dancing, partying. Yeah, that's all about them. But nevertheless, yes, there are museums here that are specifically dedicated to the events that took place. There is a huge amount of graffiti here, which in one way or another is a nod to the past. A large part of the community is made up of young people, and they are more focused on themselves and on tourism.
Right now, money is being invested in the commune. There are utilities here, and they even built a subway line in the area, even though there isn't a subway in the capital of Colombia.
Yeah, they have all the utilities here, like electricity, water, a washing machine, a refrigerator, and other necessary household items. And here they certainly have a special gas that heats the water, so they have hot water as well. We're now approaching that famous and renowned escalator. The government invested an estimated $7 million in total to build this massive escalator. So it's like compensation for the fact that there was a harsh cleanup here. Yeah, there was a harsh cleanup here. 2 wars, let's say. So you understand, right, the difference it makes. This is how people used to get up, including the elderly. Well, I walked, I don't know, 1/10 of it, and I was blown away.
All the streets of the commune are now packed with tourists. There's graffiti on every building. This means that, in essence, regardless of skin color, we are all made of the same human flesh. Well, or perhaps I got it wrong. Everyone who can is profiting financially off the name Escobar here in various ways. They sell souvenirs, paintings, and even literature books with his image. The locals are used to living in a crowd. Here's a guy just casually brushing his teeth. while people nearby are just taking selfies for social media.
People live here, of course. Here, in the cracks, every house is trying to make a profit. Somewhere in different parts of the city there's a museum, somewhere a coffee shop, somewhere an accommodation. It's kind of a compensation in this region, because it used to be very tough here. I don't think the cartel would have enough bullets to shoot all these tourists who are here now.
In the neighborhood, food delivery is running smoothly. Kids are playing video games all together on the street, just like I did 20 years ago. And if you peek into any window, they'll greet you. Well, this girl absolutely can't. She's really catching up on sleep. Here's another not-so-friendly girl, but it turns out, you know, her boyfriend is actually indeed behind us, so we'll let it slide after all.
So we've got a bomb here in the morning. The escalator is bringing people up, but there's already a crowd here, nowhere to lift them. I'm afraid my backpack hasn't been cleaned.
There's an exciting dance battle happening all the time at the Commune. The higher you go, the cooler the dancers are. Emil and Nastia's children in Colombia don't waste time on nonsense. Aurora, for example, despite her young age, is already earning money by working as a model.
She has become a model and she's earning money, becoming more of an adult in the process. It's great, she enjoys it, and it really...
She takes us to a place and says, Dad, I'm treating you.
Yeah.
Know how much she earns?
It's okay.
$200, $250, $300, yeah.
Shooting day for a child is just great.
She started with $40 for 3 photos. Does she keep all the money?
Yes. She has an account where we save her money, she buys herself things, and if she wants to spend it on something extra, she does.
The kids are into sports and are enjoying the warm weather.
There's more entertainment for the kids here. Plus the fact that the weather is always nice. They stopped getting sick. Here, Beautiful hardly ever gets sick because it's always warm. Kids study abroad. Elias wants to go back to Barcelona. Platon wants to go to America to study. There's the chance for a grant to go study in America and finish school. Emil also finished school in America. Aurora she's learning French because she wants to go to Canada. We're thinking maybe somewhere in the French part. Why not? And then we'll move to some island in the Caribbean and just travel around gathering people, noticing things.
Один из возможностей, да. Мы ничего не исключаем, поэтому мы не ограничиваем никого ни в каких рамках. У нас он каждый день свою религию меняет. Он еще пока не понимает, что это, да. Он говорит, о, классная, хорошая традиция, хочу быть...
В 3-4 церкви он уже ходит. Вот там хорошая юношеская группа, я буду туда ходить.
Да, ему нравится, у него есть группа.
Но он меняет юношеские группы церковные по субботам вечером.
Какие религии перепробовал?
Ну, в смысле, там протестанты, там все внутри католической религии.
Да, но однажды, он смешно говорит, все, я буду мусульманин, буду Рамадан держать. Я говорю, отлично, я говорю, тогда пойдем, мы тебе обрезание надо сделать. Ой, нет, вы что?
What exactly are you studying in school?
What are we studying? Math? Spanish? We're also going over English. And then there's entrepreneurship, such as in our curriculum.
Entrepreneurship is about production and innovation in various fields.
Is it like entrepreneurship?
Yes.
Wow. What do they tell you about how to make money?
They tell us about different professions in various fields, how much they earn and their respective salaries and how to make money.
But you're proud that you're already making money and not a bad amount, right? Yes. Do you like it? Yes. Which language is easier for you to speak, Spanish or Russian?
In both.
It's the same, right? No problem.
Sometimes when I speak a lot in Spanish, since I have friends here and we talk in Spanish at school, I sometimes struggle to find the words in Russian.
When you're alone and thinking, do you think in Spanish or in Russian? Or one?
I usually think in Russian, but sometimes also in Spanish, often.
This is Platon. He's in 6th grade. Tell me something about school. What's going on there?
Что проходите? Какие предметы?
Нравятся.
Нравятся девочки?
Он не в колик смотрит, он по инстаграму смотрит.
Ты подглядываешь, что ли?
Он всегда такой.
Tell me about your friends.
They are good friends. You always need to know who you're hanging out with.
They can be a little crazy, right? Hey, are there perhaps any Russian-speaking guys your age here?
No, not in my school. But I know one friend. His name is Daniel, and we are friends.
Дети ходят в католическую школу.
Внутри школы есть церковь.
Им скорее нравится это?
You know, it's also a conversation about if you show them everything, then why do they want it, you know? For example, we try, or I specifically worked on this with Aurora, that if everyone is doing it, then they don't know what you should be doing. Explain why.
Colombia is indeed not a very large country, but the climate zones vary quite greatly, in fact. For me personally, the average annual temperature in Medellin around 25 degrees is perfect.
The climate here is amazing. There's no winter. And the nature is very beautiful, incredible, and very diverse. Mountains, sea, snow, all here.
Do you perhaps consider that Colombia is a place where you will live your whole life?
Maybe it's not out of the question.
Do you think,
at the very least, until the kids finish school, we would like to keep Colombia as our base?
Of course, Colombia is a different world and everyone sees it in their own way. For some, it's scary to come here. For others, it's scary but interesting. And for some, it's just boring to live anywhere else. I'm both amazed by Colombia and I didn't really understand what it was all about. So I will definitely come back here. My channel will have more episodes about this country, so subscribe to my YouTube and Instagram. Everywhere I go, it's me, Vova Karmanov. Bye! Don't forget to turn on the bell on YouTube to all so you don't miss any important new videos.